You already know more than you think. You just don't know how to read the signs yet. Because every person leaves clues, and Nietzsche's 18 truths will teach you how to find them and what they really mean. This is the skill no one teaches you. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. This isn't a quick list or surface-level advice. It's a full breakdown in 3 parts, each one building on the last. If you skip ahead or miss one, you'll miss the depth that makes this powerful. So, stay with me, because by the end, you won't just understand others, you'll understand yourself. From a young age, we're taught to trust what people say. Words become our currency. But Nietzsche warned us, don't be fooled by language. People don't speak from truth. They speak from survival, from ego, from fear. The surface of someone's personality is not who they are. It's their armor. The overly kind person may be terrified of rejection. The confident one may be crumbling inside, hoping no one notices. And the most deceptive part? Most people don't even know they're doing it. They're actors in a play they didn't write. Their smiles, their opinions, shaped by what once kept them safe. So remember this, most people aren't hiding from you. They're hiding from themselves. Nietzsche once said, every profound spirit needs a mask. But he didn't mean that as an insult. He meant it as a warning. Don't confuse the mask with the person. Let's begin. Truth number 1. Everyone wears a mask to survive. Not because they're fake, but because they're scared. To survive, people create a version of themselves they hope will be accepted. But masks aren't perfect. They slip. The first sign is tension. Watch what makes someone uncomfortable. That is where the real person begins. 2. What someone hates in others reveals what they're hiding in themselves. Nietzsche called this projection. The person who mocks arrogance often fears they're not enough. The one obsessed with calling out dishonesty may be hiding their own truth. We hate in others what we fear in ourselves. So if you want to read someone, don't just listen to what they admire. Watch what they criticize, and ask why. 3. Silence reveals more than speech. Nietzsche didn't trust words. He saw language as a tool of the herd, used to avoid truth. When someone dodges a topic, pauses too long, or gives rehearsed answers, their silence is louder than their words. People avoid vulnerability when they fear what it might reveal. 4. Excessive virtue is often disguised vanity. Beware the loudest voice in the room, always preaching, always correcting. Nietzsche called this the will to power in disguise. The louder the signal, the more they may be hiding, because true goodness doesn't need applause. 5. People don't lie to you first. They lie to themselves. I'm fine. I don't care. I'm over it. These aren't lies told to hurt you. They're lies told so often, they start to feel real. Nietzsche saw self-deception not as evil, but as defense, a survival mechanism. So when a story doesn't add up, don't assume manipulation. Assume they've been lying to themselves longer than to you. 6. Where someone feels superior, they're hiding inferiority. Nietzsche believed superiority is often overcompensation. The person who needs to dominate likely fears being ignored. The one who reminds you of their greatness may feel like they're nothing without it. Real confidence doesn't compete, it just exists. Behind the throne, you'll often find a scared child wearing a crown. Let's go deeper, because most actions are driven by fear. 7. Most actions are driven by unconscious fear. Ask yourself this: why does someone over-explain? Why do they dominate a conversation or disappear completely? Why do they say yes when they clearly mean no? Fear. Fear of abandonment, rejection, humiliation, failure. Nietzsche knew that humans rarely act from pure desire. They act from a deep fear of loss, loss of status, loss of love, loss of self-worth. So if you want to read someone, Stop focusing on what they say they want. Ask instead, what are they afraid of losing? That's where the truth lives. 8. When someone criticizes too much, it's projection. The man who mocks emotional people might be terrified of his own feelings. The woman who belittles others for their looks might be fighting her own reflection. Nietzsche said judgment is almost never about the other. It's about the self. So when you hear repeated criticism, don't focus on who it's aimed at. Trace it back to the one who's speaking. What part of themselves are they trying to disown? Projection isn't just a defense. It's a confession. If you listen closely, it tells you where their pain lives. 9. Guilt hides behind false confidence. There's a kind of person you've seen before, the one who always seems in control, always sure of themselves. But if you watch closely, there's tension in their jaw, over-preparation, defensiveness under pressure. Nietzsche saw this in leaders, preachers, performers, those who put on certainty to avoid being seen. When someone is chronically confident, look for the guilt they're trying to bury. Maybe it's something they regret. Maybe it's a version of themselves they're trying to silence. Because real peace doesn't perform. So when someone seems too confident, don't be intimidated, be curious. 10. Exaggeration reveals the hidden truth. Someone who says, I don't care what anyone thinks, usually cares deeply. Someone who says, I'm always happy, usually isn't. Exaggeration is the ego trying to drown out doubt. Nietzsche believed that extremism is not a sign of strength, it's imbalance. So when someone's words sound too absolute, don't believe the content, read the insecurity underneath. Exaggeration is volume. The question is, what are they trying to silence? 11. Those who seek control often fear inner chaos. Control, we seek it everywhere, in work, in relationships, in routines, but some crave it to the point of obsession. And that's a clue. When someone micromanages every detail, when they can't handle change or dominate to feel powerful, it's not strength, it's fear. Nietzsche saw that when the inner world is disordered, the outer world becomes a prison of control. So instead of fearing the controlling person, see them clearly. They're terrified that the moment they let go, it will all fall apart. The stricter the outer shell, the more fragile the inner self. 12. The louder the performance, the emptier the core. Look at the world around you, social media, the poses, the constant updates, the curated identity. Nietzsche didn't see this as power. He saw it as desperation. When someone performs non-stop, it's because they don't believe they'll be loved without the act. So they create noise, drama, color. But the person who truly knows themselves doesn't need to be watched. They're already whole. So if someone's life looks like a performance, remember this. It's not a show of strength. It's a whisper of need. Now, we reach the deepest layer. Behind every behavior is a belief. And behind every belief is a wound. 13. No one speaks from logic. They speak from pain. You might think people are rational, that they argue with facts, decide with reason. But Nietzsche believed otherwise. Under every opinion lives an old injury. Someone might say, I don't believe in love. It's just a fantasy. But listen carefully. That's not a fact. It's protection. People form beliefs around what hurt them, then justify those beliefs with logic. So if you want to understand someone, don't ask what they believe. Ask what broke them, what scared them, what do they never want to feel again. This changes everything. It turns opinions into shields and arguments into scars. When you see that, you stop reacting. You start understanding. 14. How someone reacts to weakness reveals their power. You want to know who someone really is? Don't look at how they treat the powerful. Look at how they treat someone who can't fight back. Nietzsche believed that real strength isn't domination, it's restraint. If someone mocks vulnerability, they're terrified of their own. If someone punishes mistakes, they were probably never allowed to make any. If someone always wins, but leaves others bleeding, they're still at war with themselves. But the one who sits with sadness, without running, who forgives when they could have punished, that's someone who no longer needs to prove anything. They've already won the inner war. So if you want to read someone, give them a moment where compassion is possible. What they choose in that moment reveals everything. 15. When someone fears being forgotten, they chase attention. Ever met someone who always needs to be seen? Every room they enter, every story they tell, every outfit they wear screams, "Notice me." It looks like confidence, but Nietzsche saw deeper. That hunger for attention is a fear. The fear of being invisible, of being erased, of living and dying without mattering. So people make noise, not because they love it, but because silence hurts. The child who was ignored becomes the adult who overcompensates. Instead of asking for love, they demand it through chaos, drama, performance. So next time someone feels like too much, ask what they fear would happen if they were not enough. Sometimes attention isn't vanity, it's a cry. 16. The person they attack is often the person they envy. One of Nietzsche's hardest truths. People don't always attack because they hate. Often it's because they admire, but feel they never could be. Criticism is easier than admiration. So the one who tears down the successful, mocks the confident, gossips about the free, isn't just mean, they're in pain. Because when you see someone embody what you abandoned, it hurts. So instead of celebrating, we destroy. But envy is just unspoken desire. It's the soul saying, I want that too, but I don't believe I deserve it. If you can see this in others, you become immune to petty hate. If you can see this in yourself, you become free. 17. People act out their childhood, not their beliefs. You've heard it said, people don't change. But Nietzsche would say, people repeat. They repeat the roles they were forced to play, the fears they were trained to carry, the patterns they never escaped. Someone who was never heard becomes someone who never listens. Someone punished for emotion becomes cold, detached. Someone who had to earn love keeps performing for it, even when it's toxic. They think they're making choices, but they're reenacting pain. So if you want to read someone, don't just ask who they are. Ask, who did they have to be? Because behavior is biography, and behind every adult is a child still waiting to feel safe. 18. Their patterns are a confession. If you know how to listen, people don't always say what hurts, but they show you again and again. The one who ghosts when things get close. The one who overworks to avoid stillness. The one who flirts with everyone, but connects with no one. These aren't random, they're confessions. They say, this is how I protect myself. This is where I was hurt. This is what I fear will happen again. Nietzsche believed that if you learn to listen to patterns, you hear the truth before it's spoken. And when you do, you stop personalizing. You stop judging. You start understanding. You become a mirror, not a weapon. You become someone who sees and still chooses grace. And that, more than any tactic, is what makes you powerful. You're not just reading people. You're remembering yourself. So pause, because every truth you heard was never just about others. It was about you, your patterns, your fears, your childhood. The more clearly you see others, the more clearly you see yourself. This isn't the end, it's the beginning. Nietzsche didn't want us to observe. He wanted us to awaken, to realize everything we judge in others, we carry. Everything we admire, we crave. So if you felt seen by this, if something shifted inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Comment which truth hit you hardest. Let's build something honest in a world of masks. And if this spoke to you, subscribe. This is just the beginning of learning to see what's hidden and becoming who you really are. Roche Sauvage doesn't speak to everyone, only to those who feel